Jim.
Good evening. It is we'll use the
17.
stenographers, 5:15 on Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, and I call this meeting of the Town of Riverhead Industrial Development Agency to order. Notice of this meeting was properly given in accordance with the New York Open Meetings Law. I'd like to note for the record that a quorum of the board is present. This is a meeting of the board of the agency, which is open to members of the public to attend in accordance with the Open Meetings Law of the State of New York. This is not a public hearing, therefore there will not be a public comment session during this meeting. On the agenda for the meeting this evening is a preliminary resolution with respect to the joint application of the Calverton Aviation Technology, LLC, and the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency for the development of a portion of the Calverton Enterprise Park. Representatives of the company and the CDA and their respective councils will make a presentation to the board about the joint application and the projects to be constructed at the Calverton Enterprise Park. The members of the public will not have the opportunity at this time to present comments or questions about the application or the projects. At such time as the agency has completed its due diligence review and analysis of the application and the projects, the agency will conduct a public hearing in accordance with the Industrial Development Agency Act. At such public hearing, the members of the public will be able to present to the agency their comments in writing or in person with respect to the application and the projects, and the financial and economic benefits to be granted by the agency to the company. The date and time of such public hearing has not yet been set by the agency. And with that, I would like to ask the board to consider the proposed agenda. I'm going to suggest that we move one item, the new business item number 9, out of order such that it will follow section 5, the presentation by Kat. And with that proposed amendment, we accept the agenda.
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consideration of our minutes. I'd like to dispense with reading of the minutes for August 23, 2022, and ask the board to accept them.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have correspondence. There's one item, Tracy?
Yes, we received correspondence from 48 Cromer LLC notifying the agency that it will be withdrawing its application, stating that the project will not move forward as proposed to the agency in terms of size of investment. Upon review of the proposed pilot, they intend to scale back the project significantly.
All right. Noted. Any comments? That turns us to the treasurer's report.
So, at the,
Nope.
That's out of order, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one, you're right. It should be the presentation from Calverton Aviation Technology Innovation. Sorry about that, Dawn.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
we're ready to go. Good evening, members of the board, Madam Director, and Council. My name is Dawn Thomas. I am the Executive Director of the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency. I'm here tonight with members of the agency and our counsel, Frank Eisler, on behalf of the CDA in support of the resolution to accept the joint application between CAT, Calverton Aviation and Technology, and the Community Development Agency for the redevelopment of the EPCAL property. As you know, the CDA has owned the property since 1998 when it was transferred by the United States Navy for the specific purpose of economic development. Since then, the CDA has worked hard to accomplish the goals set forth by the town and the Navy by redeveloping the property to replace the lost tax revenue and jobs that existed when the Grumman Corporation occupied the premises, constructing, among other things, the fighter jets that have kept our country safe for decades. We had a great start in 2001 when we transferred the industrial core to Calverton Camelot LLC, and there are now many businesses and jobs at the property, but the property can and should be so much more. And because of that, we are here tonight to move the final piece of the redevelopment forward. This application, if granted, will enable the town to finally transfer the remaining acreage to CAT, who will thereafter redevelop the property, as they will soon describe, and bring the long overdue tax base and well-paying jobs to the town of Riverhead. As you will hear in Kat's presentation, the project will indeed fulfill the long overdue goals of returning this incredible property to its full strength so that it can serve the residents of this community and the region for years to come. The CDA will retain the Veterans Memorial Park, the Grumman Memorial property, the Henry Pfeiffer Community Center, and the Pine Barrens Preserved Area, as well as the sewage discharge area. As part of the project, CAT will be making significant contributions to the improvement of the CDA's retained property, particularly the Veterans Memorial Park. This is an extremely important project for the town's future, and we look forward to hearing the rest of the presentation and answering any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Peter Curry, Farrell Fritz, PC, 400 RXR Plaza, Uniondale, New York. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Calverton Aviation Technology, LLC. At this time, I would like to introduce the team who is going to be working on this project with CAT. I'm going to start out by introducing three representatives of the applicant. Nader Germazian, Justin Germazian, and Meg Blakey are all here from the applicant. In addition, we have Alex Badalamenti, who's going to be the architect on the project, Chris Robinson, who is acting as the engineer on the project. We have the company which is going to undertake the construction. That's Joe. How are you? And at this stage of the game, I want to bring Chris Kent up as my co-counsel so that he can talk about the history of this project. As you all know, Chris has been around for pretty much the entire time of this project, has a very detailed understanding of everything that's gone on in the town from the time that Grumman decided to terminate its lease of the premises and essentially move off Long Island. I think Chris can give you a very good understanding of how this project is in response to the town's needs and requirements. Chris?
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, Chairman Farley and members of the agency board. I'm going to start off just kind of walking you through, so you got to bear with me. There's a lot of history involved with this property, and I think it's important to realize what the town had and what they could have again in the near future. The property, formerly known as Naval Weapons Industrial Reserve Plant, which is now known as EPCAL, began with the Navy's acquisition of approximately 10,000 acres of land by 1952. The site was assembled and developed as part of the investment in U.S. defense during the Cold War era, which included the Korean and Vietnam Wars and several other conflicts from 1953 to 1995. The Navy developed approximately 4,400 acres for airfield runway construction and associated facilities, and the balance of the acreage was designated as aviation buffer zones. 2,913 acres of land inside the fence were leased to Grumman for airfield operations, final assembly, testing, and retrofitting of U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marine aircraft. Grumman assembled and tested over 700 F-14 Tomcats and almost all of its E-2 Hawkeye aircraft at EPCAL. The Tomcat first flight was at this property. Grumman flight tested at the Intruder, the Prowler, and the experimental X-29 with its forward swept wings here in Calverton. U.S. Navy and Marine Corps tested the Panther, Cougar, and Tiger aircrafts at the site. And commercial airlines used the runways at EPCAL for jet training with maneuvers, including full stop and engine-out landings and high offset approaches. At its peak, Grumman was producing over 100 aircraft a year and was the largest employer in the town of Riverhead. And the tower logged over 19,000 flights per year. In 1996, as a result of the defense spending declines, Grumman closed nearly all its facilities on Long Island and chose not to renew its lease at Calverton. The termination of operations at Calverton resulted in the loss of approximately 4,000 jobs and $1.1 million in direct tax revenues to the town, the county, and the school district. Of the 10,000 acres acquired by the Navy donated approximately 1,050 acres for use at the Calverton National Cemetery, approximately 2,935 acres to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for preservation and wildlife management, and other surrounding land was conveyed for a variety of uses and preservation. In 1998, in accordance with an act of Congress, the Navy conveyed 2,913 acres to the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency for no consideration, contingent upon the reuse of the property for economic development pursuant to certain conditions contained in the adopted public law. In anticipation of the conveyance, the town engaged consultants to undertake a comprehensive reuse planning study of the site with the goal to create and encourage development, attract private investment, increase the tax base, maximize job creation, and enhance the regional quality of life. Extensive environmental review documented in a GEIS was conducted in conjunction with the planning study, completed and adopted in 1998. The study and the GEIS contemplated a hybrid of industrial, office, and regional recreational uses that culminated in the CDA designating the site as an urban renewal area and adopting a Phase 1 Calverton Enterprise Park urban renewal plan that provided a vision for the reuse and redevelopment of EPCAL. Ooh, excuse me. Trying to keep my voice from going. The town amended its comprehensive master plan and town code to include 3 new zoning use districts to effectuate the redevelopment of the site as provided in the adopted plan. The town assumed ownership of existing Grumman buildings and infrastructure and created on-site town sewer and water districts to serve the property and rehabilitated the existing rail line. Consistent with the Phase 1 plan, the CDA sold and transferred approximately 600 acres at EPCAL under that first phase. One large tract of land, the industrial core, as Dawn mentioned, encompassing approximately 500 acres, included a majority of the Grumman buildings and infrastructure. That closing was in October 2001. Later, that was subdivided into 35 lots and primarily developed as an industrial park, much of which is occupied and operational today. As approved, the subdivision includes 5 conservation lots that total over 91 acres, and an additional 62 acres were preserved by a conservation easement granted to the Boy Scouts of America as part of the approval and development of the Wellbridge facility, which is in operation. The approved subdivision map also includes 7 lots designated for water, sewer, and other utilities that are on 18 acres at the site. Other transfers made by the CDA include approximately 42 acres that were sold to Island Water Park for recreational use, 50 acres transferred for the development of Stony Brook University Business Incubator, and the Wells Family Cemetery that is still there at the eastern runway, at the southern tip of the eastern runway. Additionally, land along Middle Country Road has been set aside for the Town of Riverhead Water District. All of those industrial, recreational, and utility uses are consistent with the Phase 1 Urban Renewal Plan and the zoning adopted by the town in 1998. Over the years since then, the sale of the industrial core, several attempts were made to develop the remaining approximately 2,300 acres of CDA-owned land at EPCAL. There was the Riverhead Resorts Agreement that included the infamous 35-story indoor ski mountain. While often criticized, that proposal did pay the town approximately $8 million in option fees that supplemented town budgets for several years, as well as an agreement with Reckler Equities, and which ended up failing, and expressed interest in negotiations with RXR, with Pulte Homes to develop a Del Webb community, senior community, and Kenneth Wilpon, who would come to Town Hall in his fur coat to negotiate with us. Those are the days. Despite such efforts, the remaining 2,300 acres were never transferred or developed within the timeframes established in the Phase 1 Urban Renewal Plan. As a result, in 2011, the CDA and the town renewed and rededicated their efforts and invested significant resources and engaged with the state, regional, and local governmental agencies and departments, private consultants, and numerous interest groups and associations to discuss the sale of land, identify and attempt to mitigate the concerns and potential adverse impacts related to the shared vision, which was the goal of economic development at EPCAL. The town conducted a comprehensive and extensive analysis of economic, market, environmental, traffic, sewer, water, and a myriad of other factors with participation from, among others, New York State DOT, New York State DEC, Suffolk County Economic Development, Planning, Health, and Public Works Departments, with the town of Riverhead Planning and Engineering, Water and Sewer Districts, and other interested agencies and private groups. In response to the CDA's and the town's efforts, in 2013, the New York State Legislature adopted and the governor signed into law legislation that established the Enterprise Park at Calverton Reuse and Revitalization Area for the purpose of promoting a comprehensive redevelopment, reuse, and revitalization of the EPCAL site by allowing the town to obtain general permits for an overall development plan at EPCAL. Individual developers with projects that conform to an adopted development plan must receive all corresponding permits within 90 days of a complete application. In 2016, an extensive final supplemental GEIS was prepared and completed in furtherance of the proposed action, which was to create and adopt a reuse and revitalization plan as the updated urban renewal plan for EPCAL, amend the Town of Riverhead Comprehensive Master Plan, create and adopt a planned development zoning district, PD zoning district, amend the town zoning map to rezone the site to PD zoning, subdivide the remaining EPCAL property for ultimate redevelopment with a mix of proposed uses, including the 2 runways, which would be available for limited redevelopment and/or historic use as accessory to the uses developed at the property. On March 15, 2016, the town accepted the FSGEIS for the comprehensive plan to develop EPCAL based upon the new vision and amended plan that established thresholds and guidelines that serve as the secret documentation for all subsequent development activities at the property. As long as those thresholds or guidelines are not exceeded, no further SECRA study would be required. No supplemental studies would be required. In August 2016, the CDA adopted the EPCAL Reuse and Revitalization Plan, Phase 2 of urban renewal for EPCAL. It is the comprehensive plan for the redevelopment of over 2,300 acres of CDA-owned land. The property includes the 2 runways and the associated taxiways, and the properties that are going to be retained by the CDA that were detailed by Dawn. It also includes wooded and grassland areas and areas containing wetlands. The primary goals and objectives for the reuse were modified in the updated Phase 2 plan to reflect current economic, market, site conditions, and the comments and concerns of involved and interested parties. Specifically, the primary goals of the plan are to attract private investment to the site, maximize the real property tax rateable base, maximize skilled, high-paying employment opportunities, and protect the natural environment and sustain regional quality of life. Upon completion of the SECRA process, the town board adopted the reuse and revitalization plan for EPCAL, together with the required amendments to the town's comprehensive master plan, the Calverton Urban Renewal Plan, and the town zoning code and zoning map. These plans and code provisions are currently in full force and effect and control the future development of EPCAL. In furtherance of the adopted plan, the town adopted the PD zoning district on August 16, 2016 to regulate development within the EPCAL property. The legislative intent of the PD zone confirms that the PD district is to promote the expeditious and orderly conversion and redevelopment of the EPCAL property by allowing for flexibility in providing a mix of uses in order to prevent further blight, economic dislocation, and additional unemployment, and to aid in strengthening the New York State economy, the regional economy, and the economy of the town of Riverhead. The purpose of the PD district is to enable, encourage, and qualify the implementation of the following policies that are consistent with the original terms of the federal transfer and the vision of the town for the redevelopment of the property ever since the time it was acquired in 1998. And that is to promote economic development opportunities, encourage the efficient use of land, encourage flexibility and consistent high-quality site and architectural design, and facilitate new development that increases the area's marketability and enhances the tax base. The remaining CDA-owned land at EPCAL shall be redeveloped in accordance with the reuse and revitalization plan for EPCAL, which includes an amended comprehensive plan adopted in August 2016 to accommodate the revisions made under the plan, a subdivision map to be filed pursuant to the requirements of the Riverhead Town Code for the town of Riverhead for the redevelopment of a portion of that property originally designated as urban renewal in Phase 1 and consistent with the act adopted by the New York State Legislature and signed into law October 23, 2013. The reuse and revitalization plan is included as part of the article and specifies, among other things, representative types and general locations of land uses and the general scale and location of proposed development within the PD district. In furtherance of the adopted plan and zone, and as studied in the extensive FSGEIS that was prepared and completed in 2016, the CDA presented a proposed 50-lot subdivision map for the 2,323 acres at EPCAL. After the town issued its secret supplemental finding statement, the CDA submitted its application for the 50-lot subdivision to the planning board in November 2016, and a public hearing was held in January 2017. The proposed map created actual lots for development with associated subdivision infrastructure. 40 of the proposed 50 lots were designated for development. Based upon that 50-lot configuration that designated 697 acres for development, 45 acres would be needed for roadways and right-of-ways, and 56 acres were identified as drainage reserve areas, leaving approximately 596 acres for actual development. Included in the FSGEIS for the 50-lot subdivision is a comprehensive habitat protection plan that provides for the preservation of 787 acres of woodlands, which includes 448 acres within wetland buffer areas, 583 acres of grassland that included 70 acres of grassland to be created to replace the grassland that would be lost and destroyed by proposed development within the 50-lot subdivision, 118 acres of meadow brush land, including 66 around wetlands, and 16.4 acres of wetlands, and 9.3 acres known as McKay Lake. Those were all being set aside in the Habitat Protection Plan. The 50-lot subdivision calculations included two parcels that total approximately 200 acres, identified as Parcel A and Parcel B, that were retained by the Navy for remediation, that once environmentally suitable will be transferred to the CDA and in turn preserved as open space and managed in accordance with the Comprehensive Habitat Protection Plan. That 200 acres is part of the land that was identified for preservation under the Comprehensive Habitat Protection Plan. Subsequently, the town board determined to alter the proposed subdivision map by eliminating the initial 50 lots with attendant interior roadways, drainage areas, and other infrastructure, and create an 8-lot subdivision. In April 2019, the CDA revised the proposed 50-lot subdivision and prepared an 8-lot subdivision map for 2,106 acres, removing the Navy parcels A and Parcel B from the proposed map and some other minor areas that totaled approximately 217 acres. The 8-lot subdivision creates lots 1 through 5, about 463 acres, that will remain in public ownership for use by the town and the CDA. These 5 lots on the new map are the same areas retained by the town under the 50-lot map for the same identified uses. Lots 6, 7, and 8, the total 1,644 acres, are under agreement to be sold to Calverton Aviation and Technology for development in accordance with the adopted Phase 2 plan for EPCAL and as provided in the PD zoning district. A reconfigured development plan for the development area would include required roadways and utility infrastructure, as well as drainage reserve areas. But based upon the proposed redevelopment, there should be less infrastructure required, less roadways, less drainage reserve areas. Rather than internal roadways within a 50-lot subdivision, this is only 2 lots, 2 large lots with exterior roadways, perimeter roadways. The CDA completed a secret consistency analysis to compare the original 50-lot map and the finding statements adopted by the lead agency under SECRA in support of that map and the proposed 8-lot subdivision map to determine if the proposed reconfiguration to 8 lots would cause any potentially significant adverse environmental impacts beyond what was identified in the FSGEIS. The development of the lots to be conveyed to Calverton Aviation and Technology will be developed based upon the enduring vision of the town for redevelopment of the property, for economic development. The determinations, thresholds, and guidelines established in the SECRA process, the primary and general goals identified in the reuse and revitalization plan, the regulations of the town zoning and required approvals of the county and state will all be adhered to in the proposed development. Based upon the proposed uses on the lots proposed to be retained for public purposes, and the lots to be conveyed for the development subject to compliance with the thresholds and guidelines established in the findings made in furtherance of the adopted FSGEIS, the Town Planning Board found the proposed 8-lot subdivision to be consistent under SECRA with the approved 50-lot subdivision, with the FSGEIS that was approved for the 50-lot subdivision. The entire 2,106 acres within the 8-lot subdivision are the subject of the joint CDA Calverton Aviation and Technology application that is before you this evening. The plan is to move forward with the goals of the government when it conveyed the property to the town. The vision to redevelop the property is provided in the urban renewal plans. The limitations, the thresholds, and guidelines adopted in furtherance of the FSGEIS, and the mission of the developer, which is to meet all the goals and objectives of the town agencies and the needs of the people of the town of Riverhead. If you have any questions, I'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go to the specifics of the plan. That was just a little history. Now, if anybody needs credits, just see me after class. I'll be sure to sign. I'm going to introduce Chris Robinson of R&M Engineering. He's going to walk you through the preliminary site plan that we have for Phase 1 and the conceptual site plan for future phases.
Good evening, Chris Robinson from President of Robinson & Muller Engineers PC, 50 Elm Street, Huntington, New York. I'm going to walk through a little bit of the Phase 1 plan and indicate some of the parcels, items that we're going to be doing. This page would be good to leave it on. The Phase 1 will include 5 buildings, 2 logistics buildings for 300,000 square feet each, and then 3 more flex buildings, which will be 2-story buildings for a total of 400,000 feet, bringing us to a total of 1 million square feet. As part of the development of Phase 1, we'll be constructing a new roadway, which will tie at Berman Boulevard, just south of North Country Road, run through the development as a spine, and then meet up with River Road to the south. That road will be designed with a 60-foot right-of-way, approximately 40 feet of paved area. Within that roadbed, we'll have all the utility infrastructure, new water main, gas, electric, telephone, fiber optics that would serve the building. We've designed the road to essentially act as a center spine for the vehicular traffic. Coming off of that road, we'll have the tractor-trailer loading yards that'll be separated from the vehicular parking areas that will be used for the employees. We've also set the buildings up in accordance with Part 77 of the aviation to provide a component of the taxiway, a future taxiway that'll run down the east side of the east runway, the 10,000-foot runway, and an apron, so these buildings can be served both from airplane as well as trucking facilities on the opposite side of the building, so that we can keep the varying use components of these buildings separate. Employee vehicular traffic, tractor-trailer traffic, and airplane traffic, all separated and fitting and serving the building from different directions. I mentioned the taxiway, which would be located approximately, the apron, which would be located about 500 feet away from the center line of the runway. At the initial phase, we'll build a small piece of the taxiway. This taxiway is anticipated to be expanded all the way along the east side to the north and the south to serve that easterly runway in the future as future buildings come online. I mentioned water. We'll be constructing a new water main from Berman Boulevard to Riverhead Road to the south, approximately 12,000 linear feet of roadway, which will incorporate 12,000 feet of water main. We'll tie it to the existing main on Berman, and we'll tie it to a future improvement that'll be constructed on River Road. Currently, the Riverhead Water District main ends at the east side of the west gate along Grumman Boulevard. That'll need to be extended to pick up this area. I know the Riverhead Water District's working with Suffolk County Water Authority to tie two pieces of infrastructure together on that side. The sewer, we'll be collecting the sewer, again, along the road in the middle. We'll be connecting under the runway to connect up to the end of Jan Way, where there's gravity sewer that brings it to the plant. The initial module of the plant expansion brings that sewage treatment plant up to 100,000 gallons a day, which frees up approximately 58,800 gallons a day for future development. Phase 1 of the CAT development will use approximately 48,000 gallons a day. As this development progresses with the future expansions, there'll be future module expansions of the treatment plant. The drainage, will be constructing a lot of subsurface drainage within the parking areas, which will be located in the middle and east and west of the roadway, as well as drainage reserve areas that'll go around the building to recharge the stormwater. I'll be happy to answer any questions anybody might have around the infrastructure or the specifics of the development. And if not, I will bring up Mr. Alex Baldamenti of BLD Architecture, who can walk through the proposed buildings.
So good evening, Alex Badalamenti, BLD Architects, present 31 West Main Street, Patchogue, New York. As we transition today from summer to fall, I think it's appropriate that I add a little color to the conversation going on. So we put together a series of illustrations here that outline what both Chris and Chris have discussed. Overall, we believe the plan we've developed is comprehensive and responsible development plan. We're creating a center for innovation for both industrial R&D and also aviation-related industries in Calverton, bringing a lot of those industries back to the site. The concept is sustainable in nature. We're also attracting sustainable industries, alternative energy, wind and solar companies, aviation and transportation related new ideas in those industries, and we'll be using both runways eventually for cargo and also for testing at the site. If we go to the first diagram, Chris outlined a lot of the habitat protection. We work very closely with GEI on the environmental stewardship that this project is responsible for. Moving the taxiways east of the east runway and west of the west runway allowed us more contiguous land to preserve for both the habitat, the grasslands, and the woodlands. We have both primary and secondary grasslands and woodlands on site. Our goal is to preserve the best of the existing and then enhance the rest as we increase the amount of woodlands, grasslands on the site. So in the full master plan, all development is east of the east runway and west of the west runway. We're also following all of the current zoning for the site, the nature walk along 25, and all of the setback requirements for each of the wetlands and the habitat. So all of that is being preserved and encouraged in this plan. If we start going through some of the diagrams. Next. Okay, sorry. Tom will show in the upper east area, that's the first phase of development. As Chris outlined, it's 1 million square feet. There are 3 flex buildings for R&D and development, and then 2 large 300,000 square foot industrial buildings, warehouse distribution buildings. These are cross-dock facilities so that they connect the apron off the taxiway on one side directly to planes and cargo, and on the other side, transportation and distribution coming out the other side of the building. So it allows a lot of flexibility in a fairly large building. We're also proposing in Phase 1B that there would be a rail depot, about a 400,000 square foot rail depot to the south. That's part of the future plans. And then if we go to the next page, Tom, this would be the full build out, which is an additional 9 million square feet of R&D, industrial, innovative design buildings to the site. Again, you can see the buildings in orange and yellow are to the east and west of the existing runways, and the new taxiways are shown on this diagram. Next. This is a similar diagram that Chris showed, so I won't reiterate it, but those are the 2 large, really just for orientation. Those are the 2 large rectangles in orange. Those are the 2 300,000 square foot buildings. To the north is a 100,000 2-story square foot, 100,000 square foot 2-story, flex building. And then to the east, there are 2 flex buildings, one 100,000 square foot 2-story building and one 200,000 square foot 2-story flex building. That would be what we consider Phase 1, 1 million square feet. Next. This aerial view shows the 2 warehouse logistics buildings adjacent to the taxiway. We're looking northeast in this view. You can see the flex building, the 100,000 square foot building to the north, and then the 2 300,000 square foot buildings to the east. Next. Here's another view looking northwest. You can see the runway in the background and the taxiway. Again, the blue roof buildings are the 2 logistics buildings, and then to the north and then to the east would be the other flex buildings. Next. This view is coming from the approach as you come off 25. So we're looking southwest, my apologies. In front of you is the 100,000 square foot building. All of the buildings are designed as state-of-the-art. The flex buildings are steel and glass. They're intended to be very light and airy, sort of give the atmosphere of flight. The industrial buildings are modern industrial buildings. We have 40-foot clear ceilings. They're 55-foot in height. We have very large column bays to accommodate what is trending currently for industrial distribution buildings right now. Keep going, Tom. We come around, that's a view a little further to the southwest, showing the two large industrial buildings and one of the flex buildings, the back end of that 100,000 square foot flex building right there. Next. These are the two flex buildings to the east. The one on the left is 100,000. The one on the right is 200,000. Again, steel and glass, very contemporary, very modern, sustainable buildings. Last view is just the full master plan. You can see the integration of those buildings on the northeast. You can see the future expansion of about 4 million square feet on the west and another 4 million square feet, approximately 4.5 million square feet on the east, which will be developed in the later phases. We also have a number of sustainable initiatives in each of the buildings that we're incorporating. These buildings use increased insulation values on the building envelope. We have reflective roof membranes. We have added photovoltaics on the tops of the roofs. All of the equipment and the MER equipment is all high efficiency rated. All the fixtures are low water flow consumption. We have natural day lighting. We use LED lighting on the interior and the exterior. We also provide for dark skies and very high-speed roll-up doors to keep the efficiency of the building lean. And then on the site plan, a lot of sustainable initiatives there too, with bioretentions, electric vehicle charging stations, and again, dark skies exteriors. So that concludes what I have to present, and I'll give it to you, Keith.
So as you can see, we have a very unique opportunity to develop nearly 600 acres and preserve the remainder of the site. But it doesn't really make any difference if we can't also meet the town's economic goals. And I think that's an important aspect of what we're trying to accomplish here. We are projecting that we would close this transaction, assuming that the board accepted the application and eventually gave us an authorizing resolution. And we would like to close as soon as possible. We're hoping to close by the end of this year or early next year. If the agency accepts this application, we have been poised and ready, and we'll start the marketing program for the prospective tenants. We want to move very quickly in attracting them. We've gotten, I would say, some feedback already. We have been in contact with the broker who had been retained by the town to market the property, and he has indicated that there is interest. But we think that essentially all the prospective tenants would be waiting until at least the application was accepted, if not, for the final authorizing resolution. But it's a complex process, and we intend to start it if the board accepts the application. We retained James Lehman Associates to undertake both a feasibility study, which has led us to believe that we will be able to fill up the 1 million feet within 5 years that we plan to. They've also conducted an economic study. So in the feasibility study, they indicated that the types of tenants who we have identified in the application are likely prospective tenants. And those are tenants in the aeronautics, industrial aviation, environmental, energy, the medical field, educational, as well as the warehouse and logistics centers that you see of the 600,000 square feet in the first phase. With regard to the economics of the project, in the application you'll note that we have described it as a $245 million project. The James Lehman study analyzed that and indicated that the hard cost of construction and related costs of that would be approximately $171 million. And again, each of these numbers that we're discussing are with regard to the first phase. This is an application that we have submitted to the IDA for the entire 10 million feet. However, we can't run economic analyses of the remaining 9 million feet, so everything that we discuss here essentially will be with regard to the initial 1 million feet. And in the indication of the 171 million, that would result annually in 235 direct construction jobs, $21 million in direct income to those construction workers. Additionally, there would be 29 jobs new jobs from the entities involved in the business-to-business transactions with the applicant. And that would result in an additional $3 million of annual income for those new individuals. And then there'd be 78 new induced jobs resulting from the flow of the direct and indirect incomes into the region's economy. And that's would be another $6 million worth of annual direct income. So the overall annual income effect would approximate $30 million. The output resulting from the construction of the project would annually be $57 million approximately. And if you were to track it over 5 years of the Phase 1 project, that would result in actually an increase of $150 million approximately in direct and indirect income and $285 million in output. So the construction of the project alone would be a huge boon to the town of Riverhead and this region. Then once the project becomes operational, the numbers really start to flow. So we got a range from James Lima of 1,047 to 1,425 direct operational jobs. The numbers I will give you are assuming the lowest of those numbers. So Lima did a range. I think it's only fair to work with the lowest numbers, and I think they're pretty astonishing. So the annual direct income from the operation would be $95 million. Additionally, there'd be 388 additional jobs from those businesses, again, involved in business-to-business transactions with the applicant. That would result in another $38 million of new employment resulting from those 388 additional jobs. And there would be 439 induced jobs. Again, tracking the flow of that money through the economy, that would be an additional $33 million annually. So the annual overall income effect of the operation of the first phase of the project would be approximately $167 million, and the output, including the use of materials, would be $540 million per annum. So once again, this is a project that we anticipate will take a couple of years for those funds to start flowing. We need to build the buildings. But again, within the first 5 years, those operational dollars will start to flow. And again, even if we were to take these numbers and just extrapolate them, 9 million, more square feet, and just say this is 1/10 of what the actual income effect and the economic effect would be on the town of Riverhead and the surrounding areas, it's a pretty mind-numbing number. And as we know, all costs and salaries and everything go up over the course of time, so these are, even if we were to do this tenfold, it would probably be less than the actual economic effect of the operation of the 10 million feet of the project. We have provided information to council for the agency regarding the financial capability of the applicant. We've delivered information with regard to the assets of the principals of the applicant. We have delivered a term sheet with regard to the possibility of acquisition and pre-construction funding, and we've indicated the interest of certain entities in doing construction funding. Again, construction funding takes a little longer to get going because you're talking about something that will happen next year and would only occur upon identifying a tenant to occupy the space. But we're very comfortable that funding will be there for a project such as this, which is unique in the region, and the types of companies which would be the occupants of the buildings would be very attractive to any lender, construction, and even permanent financing. Additionally, it's been mentioned in the application that we have certain obligations to the CDA. The initial obligation that we have now to the CDA is to provide lighting for the ball fields, and then during the pendency of the first phase of the project, we are to pay over another $1.5 million for further ball field improvements or park improvements. So to sum up this presentation that we're making here, Don Thomas and Chris Kent discussed the post-Grumman history of the site and what the town sought to do as a consequence of what it felt to be the neglect or the non-use of these really attractive acres. The town wanted a transformative project, and we believe that this project complies with the over 20 years of planning by the town, the DEC, and other agencies. We think this is the one project that responds directly to every single one of the requirements, desires, the needs of the town that were identified in over 20 years of these studies. Our engineering and architectural partners have shown a dynamic plan and renderings, and they've laid out the future of the development at EPCAL. You can see phase one. They've also given you an idea about the additional 9 million square feet. They've also shown you approximately where the acreage that will be preserved is going to be located. And again, I think one of the features of this is consolidating that acreage above where it is now. So getting more contiguous acreage of preservation is did a really great job in planning and providing for that. We've shown you the extremely impressive projections of job growth resulting from the construction of the project and then the operation of the project. We've confirmed the applicant's economic ability to undertake the project. But of course, no project of a scope like this anywhere in Long Island is going to be able to succeed without the assistance of an industrial development agency. I think that's been shown time and time again. So we are coming before you. We've submitted this application for the assistance, the economic assistance of the agency, and that's the purpose of this presentation here. So we do ask right now that the agency accept this application, and that thereafter we, the applicant, will bend all of our efforts to cooperating with the agency during the due diligence process to provide the information that it needs to bring before you for final authorization this application. And then we all look forward to the date when we can all assemble on the 10,000 square foot runway looking toward the first area of the development and say, we did a good job here. This was, we should be proud. We should all be proud of this, the town, the applicants, and everybody involved. And I'd like to open up the floor for any questions at this time.
Questions? Go ahead.
I do, actually. Certainly, there'll be more questions as we move forward with our due diligence, but at this point, for the preliminary, I was wondering if you could shed some light for us on the status of Illuminati and its ownership, and whether or not the principal is still the same in that entity.
The principle is still the same.
Okay?
Yes. Yeah. Illuminati is still a partner.
Okay. Do you anticipate bringing in additional investors into the ownership of CAT?
Not at this time, no.
No, okay. And speaking of that, can you explain the CAT ownership chart in the application and what the percentages mean that are next to it?
The flow chart.
Well, yeah, so the percentages in the application mean the 25% and the 75%?
No, it was,
Chocolate.
there were different entities with different,
Upstream.
Well, it just went straight upstream, one entity owning 100% of the entity below it, and all the way up to the individual.
okay.
So each entity is 100% owned by...
The entity above it, yes.
Oh, the entity
Yep.
above it.
Okay. All right, I'll take another look at that. Will all the businesses located within the CAT properties be tenants to CAT, or do you envision there will be ownership of buildings?
Now, right now, we envision a landlord-tenant relationship.
Okay.
Again, because of the way the property is subdivided, in order to have transfers of ownership, you'd have to do additional subdivisions.
Right,
So, no, it's a
Yeah.
landlord-tenant relationships.
okay. Let's see, other than the Riverhead IDA benefits, do you anticipate applying for any other state or federal economic development benefits for the project?
We have not as yet. I think in the future there will be possibilities that will reflect well on all of us, but none of those have been identified yet, and I think given the status of it, it wasn't really the time to try to lock in any additional funding, but as in all these projects, I can see some grant money that perhaps could become available for certain aspects of it, infrastructure type grants, loans, things like that.
Will the tenants be responsible for their own build-out and equipment? Because I noticed there was no equipment in the IDA application budget.
That was base equipment. That did not include the tenant build-out. So there will be additional there will be additional build-outs. I mean, some of these buildings, so the flex buildings are usually more built out, and the warehouse buildings, the tenant is going to be providing its own racking and some of its internal systems. So I anticipate more in the one and less in the other.
Okay. And finally, what is envisioned when you reference the academic uses?
We think that, given the other uses that are going to be made of this, I think you're going to find universities and maybe even the BOCES of the world wanting to partner with the R&D that's going to be done here. So I think that you'll find that there could be academic premises, medical, and other types, as well as just cooperation. Because I think there would be a lot of educational benefits. If you think about the uses that we're contemplating here, which could also include pharmaceutical and other science uses, I think you find universities being very desirous of being able to associate themselves with the businesses that would be going on here. And that could either be through direct operation of their own classrooms, their own facilities, or just cooperation with the tenants.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for right now. Thanks.
I have a couple of questions. Should this, excuse me, should this deal go through, would 555 or Illuminati pledge this ownership in this project as collateral for any other projects that it already owns?
No, it would be pledging the project for financing, but no, just for financing of
So
this
it wouldn't
project.
stand as security for any other project of,
No.
and conversely, does any of the existing projects of 555 or Illuminati have cross-default provisions such that a default in one of the other projects would result in a claim with respect to any subsequently owned projects?
I can't tell you directly an answer to that, but these things are set up to be single-purpose entities, not to be cross-defaulted with other projects.
And is that the way the existing projects of 555 and Illuminati is set up?
I have no knowledge of that.
Business question, I guess, of sorts. From the proposal or the presentation, it would appear that you're going to lean heavily into some sort of air cargo truck sort of linkages. And I was just wondering, well, the rail link being somewhere a bit far from the cargo area, but how is that going to logistically work in the current Long Island environment?
You mean moving cargo from this location throughout?
Well, I'm just wondering where volumes are meant to go. I mean, when I look at the build-out, could be significant air cargo, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. I was just trying to understand how that operation works in what is sort of a logistically hampered location in the world, actually, Long Island.
That's a good question. It could probably be answered better by an engineer than by me. And we're talking about aside from the cargo that may come in that may be utilized on the site, but I'll let somebody better versed in that answer.
I'll give it a shot. The logistics industry, there are varying components of it as you work your way upstream. I think the envisionment here is the aeronautic aspect, bringing packages which get brought into a logistics building, transferred onto tractor-trailer trucks, which may be brought onto other distribution facilities downstream. I mean, we're not talking about Amazon, but I'll give them as a for instance. They use their last-mile distribution centers where they have tractor-trailer trucks that come in the overnight hour, unload product. That product's divvied up within the building. Then they have their, what they call their launching ramp, where they have the vans that get loaded in the morning, leave the facility, go out and deliver it, and then come back empty at the end of the day. So this would be a piece in that cog. Technically, currently, that end of the logistics business is not handled on Long Island. This would be an incredible opportunity to bring that here, where currently it might be done in Nashville or other parts of the country, where products flown in, divvied up, put on trailer trucks, delivered to other local distribution facilities or last mile facilities or other ones. So it's a piece in an overall puzzle. And I think this creates a excellent opportunity to provide that on Long Island and help feed Long Island from that end of it versus all of the trucking that currently comes over the bridges from points west.
Have you taken into consideration the fact that currently in the town of Riverhead, there's approximately 1 million square feet of additional warehouse space that other companies are trying to build, and the effect of, should those projects go forward, what the effect would be on this project?
Yes, yes, we have. And so we've agreed to construct 1 million feet within 5 years. To the extent that the market wants something else than logistics centers, we will respond to that. We've given you a representation of what we think is currently needed at this location, in addition to the types of industries we're trying to attract to the location. And to the extent that it's determined that there's overbuilding or anything that's going on, I mean, I've heard about it in the town of Brookhaven, I've heard about it in a bunch of other places, that maybe there's some overbuilding, we will respond to that. So the whole idea is to get this project marketed as quickly as possible, determine what the uses are. I mean, listen, we wouldn't be averse to having 1 million square feet of flex buildings with a higher employment population and higher wages and everything. That'd be fine by us. Really, we want to respond to the market, and the way we have set this up, we can certainly respond to the market. We can take those buildings and do other things with them. It's just that we responded to what we think the market, what we've been told the market was looking for at this time, and a lot of that was in the Lima report, indicating what the need was, but we will be extremely flexible and delivering that 1 million feet to those tenants who need it.
Switching a little bit, where are you in all the other town processes?
I'm sorry?
We're very flattered you come to the IDA first, at least from my understanding, but there's a lot of other town agencies that you have to put this project through. Is that correct? You still have to go to planning, all the other town agencies, or am I missing something?
Explain that.
Yeah, there's certainly a few county agencies that will be involved in the overall review. Suffolk County Department of Health. In this case, we're Riverhead Sewer District, so the Suffolk County Sewer District won't be involved. There will be road improvements that are contemplated from the FEIS that will be on different county roads, town roads, and other roads in the vicinity.
So you have studied the impact on roads, or not?
Yeah, the impact on roads was studied in the FEIS that was completed, that was done for the subdivision that occurred, and there is a infrastructure component of that for mitigation.
Can we get a copy of that, Tracy?
I'm sorry?
Can we get a copy of the environmental impact statement?
Absolutely. In fact, I thought I sent it already, but
Okay. Any other questions?
Not at this
This
time.
time?
Not at this time.
All right.
Thank you. That concludes our presentation.
All right, thanks very much. Right. Now, turning to my, should we say, out-of-order request, shall we go to the new business and look at Resolution 4422?
Okay.
No, not 4422, excuse me, I got my resolution over here wrong.
no, that's correct.
you're right.
4422. Last one in your packet.
4422, resolution approving draft budget.
No, that's,
Did I misnumber them?
no, 4422 is the, let's keep going.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
We, no, you didn't. We're right.
We're right, okay,
We're right.
there we go.
And council can walk through the resolution if you like.
I think that's a good idea.
So this resolution for you for your consideration is to accept the application as presented tonight. This is not an inducement, this is to start very preliminary, point of preliminary resolution. It provides for that the co-applicants, CDA and CAT will enter into a preliminary agreement with the IDA, whereby CAT will agree to pay all the costs, expenses going forward of the IDA and the CDA, provides that we will engage consultants to help the IDA analyze the feasibility of the project and analyze the application and financial wherewithal to make sure it is built. And then it also will say that, says that once we have completed the due diligence and analysis, at that time, the board will consider holding a public hearing, and at which point, at that public hearing, the public will have the right to present comments to the board, either in writing or in person. So this is the start of the due diligence phase that we have, again, the right to request additional information as we're going through the due diligence, and the company has said that they will, made all the representations that they will comply with all of our requests and help that process, because they want to see this, as Mr. Curry said, they wish to see this move quickly. So starting the process of our review and due diligence.
The resolution actually addresses the preliminary agreement as well, right?
Yeah, it's just a preliminary agreement.
Okay. Well, any comments on this resolution?
Yes, the way I look at it is that it's been almost 25 years since the town of Riverhead has lost 4,000 jobs because of Grumman closing. And I think that for the purposes of proceeding, I think undertaking preliminary due diligence is a good idea to see if we can have a project that makes sense and that can proceed in the town of Riverhead to finally, after 25 years, recapture some of that lost employment.
I would agree with Lee on that. It's been a long time just sitting here.
Absolutely,
Time to
I
move.
agree.
I am concerned, though, about the study of the roads, if they can get us that information.
Right, that's why I asked.
That is,
Well, I can only add to both Lee and Tony's comments. We should look at it, and this is the starting point for that. So I'd like to ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. We accept the application, and the process of due diligence begins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. Bill said, want me to start working at due diligence right now.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Nobody loves us.
Nobody loves us. We're boring now.
The good part's coming now.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll the videotape. So, right, that takes us to
Treasurers.
treasurer's
We
report.
resume the regular schedule of the agenda,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, and I think treasurer's report is
Yep.
next.
Okay.
So, as of August 31st, 2022, the cash in the M&T Bank checking account was $47,559.80. In the money market account, as of August 31st, 2022, was $45,027.20, with interest earned of $2.03. The revenues for the month of August included interest earnings of $5.98 and an application fee of $4,000, and expenses for the month of August 2022 totaled $16,893.21. You have a motion to accept the...
Yeah, so I think we have a resolution to accept this.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that
Is
brings us...
there, Lee, is there any thought about investing with the rates going up, and the money market into a CD or anything along those lines?
It's something that we'll discuss with Denise, I think.
Yeah, good point. That brings us to motion 4122 to accept the report of expenses and authorization to pay the bills.
We just did that.
We just did.
Oh, did we
I'm
just
sorry,
do that? Okay.
can you tell me who motioned?
Tony and Lee. Oh, was that right?
I think
Who
so.
seconded it, Lee? Okay,
I wrote it down.
check the tape.
Committee reports tonight, no audit committee, there's a governance committee report.
Yes. The Governance Committee met on September 14th to review the late pilot payment fee policy as it relates to a waiver requested by the Calverton Addiction Treatment Center. Members confirmed that a significant amount of staff time was spent in the administration of the delayed receipt of payment, including the need to have taxing jurisdictions hold checks, in addition to a bank-imposed bank-bounced check fee. The committee voted to recommend to the full board that the agency charge for these expenses, but waive the 5% late fee once the executive director could confirm definitively that the taxing jurisdictions received and were able to deposit their tax revenues before the due date despite that delay. The committee, and you'll see a resolution on tonight's agenda addressing that issue. The committee then discussed the process for review and analysis of the joint application of the Riverhead Aviation Technology Group and the Town of Riverhead's Community Development Agency. Comments on the draft resolution and preliminary agreement were shared with council for clarification and incorporation into the final documents, which are also part of today's agenda. That's it.
Thank you, Laura. And a finance committee report, who's doing that tonight?
I will give that.
Tracy.
The Finance Committee meeting was held, a hybrid meeting, virtually and in person, on August 22nd. The CFO of the agency reviewed the year-end projections with the committee and how they are calculated. She then presented the draft budget for 2023, using those projections and the estimated fund balance anticipated from prior years. During the meeting, the executive director explained that the revenue projections based on the compliance report fees needed to be amended since the agency had increased its fee structure. The timing of the budget approval was discussed, reminding the committee that the agency needed to post the budget on the Paris website by October 31st, and the draft budget needed to be forwarded to the town supervisor, providing 20 days for her review. The committee determined to authorize the 2023 budget with the amendments in revenue to be recommended to the full board for adoption. You will see that resolution further down the agenda.
Okay. Any comments on the report? Okay, fine.
No, but I had maybe I'll wait for the budget resolution to
Okay.
ask.
Which is coming up now.
That is correct.
Consideration of budget resolution 4222. Any comments on this?
So my question is the miscellaneous revenue projection or budget for 2023. It's significantly less than the last two the actual from 2021 and the projected for 2022.
So,
And the same, I guess, and then annual compliance fees are much higher. So did we just switch the categorization?
no. So every year, because we don't have revenue,
Right. It's not
expected
as-
revenue,
Right, it's not
we
consistent.
use the prior 3-year average to predict miscellaneous, program fees, and you're asking for miscellaneous, included also, oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the projection. You're looking at the
Maybe
projection?
I'm looking at income. I'm looking at income.
Right, but are you looking at the projection or the
I'm looking at the
budget?
difference for miscellaneous revenue from actual 21, projected 22, and budget 23. Miscellaneous revenue.
Okay.
And then
So
annual
you're doing the budget
compliance.
comparison sheet?
On page 5.
Yes,
Okay.
page 5.
Miscellaneous revenue. Yes, that's an increase in the compliance fees.
Okay, I got that, but what about the miscellaneous revenue?
That, I'm talking about the miscellaneous revenue. And additionally, it included the 50,000 from the town of Riverhead.
Oh, the 21 and the 22 did? I got you. Okay.
22 did.
No, we have the 21 and 22.
So so this is the first half of the year? Oh, sorry, actual in 2021, projected for 2022? Yes, that included the additional revenue from the town.
But why is it budgeted at 1750 for 2023?
Oh. I have to go back and see what was put in the narrative for the projected
That's on page,
year end.
And so also to the annual compliance fees, I understand we increased them, so I guess that's what that increase is, under the same income.
So in the budget for 2023, that 1750 only includes the pilot splitting fees, and we no longer have the Empire Zone revenue.
Okay.
That's one thing. And in the, I don't have the narrative for what was the actual of 2021 with me.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to make sure it
I don't
wasn't...
recall what was in there, but I can find that out.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
And in the projection for 2022, it had included the revenue from the town of Riverhead, so that's why it was higher, miscellaneous revenue.
Okay.
Are we not planning
we
on
don't
having
get
it in
that.
2023?
I'm sorry?
Are we planning on not getting that 50,000?
It was not discussed, so we didn't put it in the budget. And the budget that can be posted can also be amended. You know, we're doing it so far in advance.
Okay.
This was actually done in June, July.
It just
And then-
struck me as so far off that I wanted to...
Yeah, sure.
That's why I'm asking.
Actually, I have to go back and look at the
Yeah.
narratives.
Yeah,
I don't recall off the top of my head, sorry.
that's okay. But other than that, I'm fine. I'm
Tony?
happy to make the
All right,
motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All in favor? That brings us to another resolution, 43.
Anthony, and who seconded? I'm sorry.
I did.
4322, which is the resolution considering the request for late pilot payment waiver, Calverton Addiction and Treatment LLC. I think we discussed that, it was addressed in the Governance Committee minutes as well.
All right.
So. no
I'll make a
further
motion
discussion.
to approve it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then that leaves the Executive Director's report, if I've got my agenda up to speed here right now.
I'm sorry, who motioned?
Tony and I.
Tony and Lori.
Yeah, in the, I just want to note, go back, in the projection for year end, there's a narrative that says it includes the 50,000 from the town. Projection for 2022, but for 21, I'm going to have to go back and look.
Okay.
And where are we now?
Executive Director's report.
Okay. Every year we have to submit our bond allocation back to the state, and that was done in a timely fashion. That was a total of $658,054. So that correspondence was completed timely. I just wanted to take note, you might notice, or perhaps just Lee, the difference in the bank statements because of the transition from Peoples to M&T. And we should probably discuss, the next meeting is scheduled for October 3rd, which is about a week away. And I suggest we postpone that meeting to a date that can be determined with discussions at the town when I can get the room and everyone's availability. So to postpone the next meeting, and that's it.
And with that, I think council would like to have an executive session.
We need to go into executive session to discuss litigation.
And after that, we will adjourn.
Clarify whether there can be submissions during the due diligence period. You didn't answer that question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got quite busy.
If you were to send something now, it would be considered for when we hold the public hearing.
No, that's not my question. My question is whether submissions can be made while the due diligence is taking place or only after you've made your recommendation.
You can submit them anytime, and the board will consider it at the time we held the public hearing.
So you're not going to consider it in the content of your thinking. I mean, that's very weird. I think it's a railroad
No, it's-
train.
He just said
That's
you
part
can
of-
submit it
You
anytime.
can submit it, but it's not going to be considered until the time of the public hearing. That's what he said.
Well, that's when it's officially,
Is it going to be read by the members of the board? Is it going to be read by the executive director? Or is it only going to be considered after you've made your...
you're asking a hypothetical question?
No, it's a very real question about process.
No, we don't know what you're submitting.
No,
Oh, you know
something-
what we're going to submit. There's going to be
Let me
acres of
finish the sentence,
material.
please.
Sure.
Something was already submitted to the board yesterday, the chair, and it was already shared with the board. So I have no idea what you're talking about sending, so I can't give you an answer on a hypothetical submission. But it will be considered by the board. Any submission is always considered by the board as part of the statutory requirement to hold a public hearing.
Okay, prior to the public hearing. Yes. That's what I meant. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We're still in the meeting?
You are doing
We're still, yes, we're in executive, and then we go down to the meeting.
We have an executive session
We
right
have to
now.
vote, we have to
Yes, we
take
have
a
to
vote to go into
go
executive
into-
Yes, I know, I'm just,
Recess this meeting? Or
Can
can we?
Recess, yes.
Okay,
No, not recess, it's vote to go into
Yeah.
executive
Okay.
session.
Okay.
I'd like,
That's not a recess. it's a
Okay,
meeting.
that's what I was asking.
I'd like to vote from the board to go into executive session.
I will move so.
seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now going to go into executive session.
And we can stop doing
That's it, 6:37, and yes, you,
All right, could I now just have a motion to close our executive session?
No, no, you're
You
gonna,
did that.
Recording, so we gotta do it again.
Oh,
oh,
okay, okay.
I'll make the motion too.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And that brings us to the last item on the agenda, which is our adjournment. So I would like a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I will make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 6:50 PM. And with that, I would now like to open.
and Rebecca, you don't have to transcribe this meeting. You're free to go. Thank you very
I would
much.
like to open the Riverhead IDA Economic Job Development Corporation meeting on September 21st, 2022 at 6:50 PM.
Will make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I'd like to look at the proposed agenda. Would have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that brings us to the minutes from our meeting March 28th, 2022. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I will move to,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to the treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report.
Bottom of the other treasurer's report, just,
Oh,
if you'd like me to do it, I'll read
I
it.
have it.
Okay.
As of August 31st, 2022, the balance in the LDC account was $734.25. There was interest credited of 5 cents, and that was credited to the account on August 31st, 2022. That concludes the treasurer's report.
And I understand there's a resolution. I don't know that I have it to hand here, Tracy.
No,
11.
no, there is no
Either.
written resolution because it's a one-liner,
I'll
so I
make the
don't put the
resolution to
treasurer's.
approve.
Resolution approved.
Thank you.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to committee reports, and we have a finance committee report tonight.
Yes.
This I have to hear.
We're all sitting here with bated
The
breath.
Finance Committee of the Economic Job Development Corporation also met on August 22nd. It was a hybrid meeting.
And we have
Denise, the CFO, explained that the LDC budget is always zero because the LDC activity flows through the Riverhead Agency. During the course of the year, there are typically 2 transactions as the corporation charges a collection fee for the distribution of the federal loan interest payments to the Riverhead Charter School. That money is typically transferred at the end of the year to the IDA, and every year it's approximately $500.
All right.
And the committee motion